Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Bryan Thomas.
And welcome to another very special edition of the Ruthless Talk Podcast. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Grab a seat, grab a cold beverage. Got a lots to talk about, man. So if you guys have not checked out our last episode, your boy went solo. Unfortunately, Bryan had some technical difficulties, but here he is. He's live.
Back with a whole new setup, man.
Back with a whole new setup. That's exactly right. And we're going to have Bryan Thomas actually start off this show, this cold open. Now, yes, we'll get into Monday Night Raw. Once again, Monday Night Raw is going to be another recap of a show. Once again, I am not going to go over this show. Neither one of us is going to go over this show in full, but we will recap the show because this company does not deserve our full attention of the show of what was transpired this past Monday. But we will talk about it, as well as a lot of other stuff that's happened around the wrestling world. The Hardy Boys came back to WWE. They were in a match in NXT. You got this WWE and TNA partnership that's really starting to kick things into high gear. NXT Roadblock, I believe, is in 2 weeks, to where you'll see Obafemi and Moose go at it one-on-one. I believe that's in Madison Square Garden, by the way. And a bunch of other stuff that I was able to cover in the last episode. I talked about how women's talent, female wrestling talents, are not fond over Triple H's booking. They're very confused. They're just off-putting over Triple H's booking, from a report by Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful. I talked all about that. Talked about Shane McMahon and him potentially going to AEW, an update in regards to that. And of course, what Bryan is going to get into, and that is The Rock himself, the final boss, the most electrifying man in entertainment, the head honcho of TKO, whatever you want to call this man. We will talk about him, as well as I have some more stuff to talk about in regards to this whole soul-searching process that's being transpired here. But Bryan, I got to ask, man, your thoughts, since, you weren't on the show last episode, but, man, your thoughts about The Rock's promo, his confrontation with Cody Rhodes, this whole I want your soul type of shtick. And so what are your thought process, man, of watching this promo, and just where do you think this is transpiring in regards to all this?
I don't know. I will say that, for The Rock, and our expectation of The Rock and his promos and just how good he is, I'd say that last Monday night, that it wasn't good. It kind of at times felt, he kept repeating, Cody, you're, the people's champ, and he kept repeating that, and
right.
It wasn't The Rock, what we've been accustomed to. So while I can't say it's horrible, but what The Rock, what we're used to seeing from The Rock, man, that was not good. The storyline wise, I mean, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the last 3 times we've seen The Rock, was it that Survivor Series when he came out at the end and did the 1, 2, 3? Was that Survivor Series?
That was at Bad Blood. That was at Bad Blood in Atlanta, Georgia. And then the last time we saw The Rock, that was the premiere episode of Raw, right, when he was face to face with Roman Reigns. So yes.
So the last 3 times we've seen him, and we all know the history from last Mania, but he comes out, does the 1, 2, 3. We don't hear from him. Then he comes out on the premiere on Netflix, and it's a big celebration, and then this. So I don't know, man. I'll say this: if it's not a match between The Rock and Cody, if this is just something he says he's coming for his soul, and he's going to be the head guy behind the scenes, just kind of controlling shit. That's going to be lame as fuck. I guess maybe not lame, but that's not a good payoff, I guess, for all of this. The bloodline, Cody, we'll get into it. We see Seth and Cody towards the end here. None of it would add up. So if this doesn't somehow end in a match between The Rock and Cody, I don't know, man. It's, and I hate to say it because I said I think last episode, the saving grace for me at this point for WrestleMania is The Rock. And if this is what we're getting, man, shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I even said it again. If people didn't hear or my solo episode from this past Sunday, it definitely was. If it wasn't evident enough about how The Rock speaks within his promos, it was very noticeable. I even noticed it in regards to how it came off, and it was very weird. Everything of how it was transpired, even the look on Cody Rhodes' face to where he was trying to play it off in regards to like somebody stealing I don't know, one of his 5-piece suits or something. I don't fucking know. But I even said it though, man, like the nuts and bolts of what was this segment or what The Rock was trying to say, right? Like, hey, like I want you to be my champion. I want you to be, alongside me the way that we've seen people like Randy Orton in the past with the authority gimmick, right? The way with Seth Rollins. Even The Rock was a part of it years ago with Vince McMahon back in the day. So I do think this could work. And I don't know if you heard my solo episode, Brian, and I hate to kind of get off track when it comes to The Rock here, but it wasn't even really the promo that I found was weird. I mean, yes, it was weird. Don't get me wrong. The delivery was weird. It was one of the most interesting and most bipolar promo segments that The Rock has cut, going from like face to heel. He's like, oh, corporate good guy Rock. And all of a sudden he's the final boss. Like, shut your mouth. Right, talking to a fan.
It was a bipolar.
It was so weird, man. It was really weird. But here's what I honestly kind of took away from it, and that was the press conference after the show. To where I don't know if you saw this, Brian.
No, I didn't see that. It
was pretty much The Rock out of character, and he's talking about how the segment went about. Like, talking about like the magic tricks, right? The way we pull back the curtain nowadays. Like, oh, hey, we did this and this and this. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing here? Like, you just did this segment not even 20 minutes ago. And this is the problem I have with pro wrestling, man, is that whether it's LFG, this new document series that WWE and A&E are trying to do with like these new NXT up and coming talents. You have all these legends that are coaching them up. You're watching like The Undertaker showing people how to throw a punch here and there, which is, again, it's cool, but like, my God, man, can you just allow fans for once to just suspend disbelief and maybe for us to get interested? You just completely just fucked everything that you just transpired or just dished out on television.
Right.
Just what you did 20 minutes ago. So, I mean, what are your takes about that, Brian? I know that you didn't watch the press conference, but that's pretty much what it was. And like the questions that he was giving, like, like the journalists and the experts are like, what's your favorite cheat meal? Like, what do you love about New Orleans, right? What's your favorite musical artist in freaking New Orleans? I'm like, what the fuck am I watching here? I'm thinking, Brian, there's going to be like some development of the story to where maybe The Rock is a little bit more in character, right? But all it was just like a fetish of pulling back the curtain and said, hey, The Rock's like, hey, we did this and we did this, and I think it's really cool because the story's going to do this. What are you doing, bro? Like, can we stop for once, man, pulling back the curtain, man? We can't. This company, Brian, is so much more fixated on showing you all the magic tricks and reminding you, hey guys, this is fake because we did this and this and this. I'm like, that's not, like, we don't care. Like, at the end of the day, I don't care, bro. Just give me a good product and give me a good story. But Brian, what are your takes in regards to that? And also, do you have any takes of how this transpires, of who maybe aligns with The Rock in regards to who faces Cody Rhodes? Because I highly doubt Cody Rhodes is going to accept The Rock's offer. But what are your takes in regards to that?
Well, so for the, pulling back the curtain thing, and I think you had touched on it a couple episodes ago, where like, it's cool to do it, a decade from now, talk about this, revisit it, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like you said, now, we've already got into the business of all the when the WWE network, all the backstage, personal lives and whatever, and that's cool to some degree. You're right.
Right.
But now you're, like you just said, I mean, you just had a segment, and 20 minutes later, it's just like, why not just have, like, what are we going for here? We're just going to have an episode of Raw, and then immediately following Raw, hey, look at how we all did it.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, you got to let it, 20 minutes, like right after the show, and yeah, I hear you. And as far as who aligns with The Rock, I don't know. I have to think, especially with that when Solo, he kind of left and was gone for 3 weeks, and now, he's back. I would have to say Solo's one guy.
That's somebody that nobody's really talking about, by the way. They're either saying it's Cena, which is weird. Cody Rhodes himself. People say that it could be Punk. What are your takes?
I would say if you're talking about the Elimination Chamber there specifically, and like who could come out the winner, and then align with The Rock or whatever. Mm-hmm. Fuck, and I hate to say it, man, because I don't want to see this match or whatever, but it'd be Seth. It'd be fucking Seth. Like, Cena ain't doing it. Punk, maybe, but no. And I mean, McIntyre. Who else is in it?
Logan Paul and Cena.
Logan Paul and Damian Priest.
Yeah.
So if you're just talking about those guys, it'd be Rollins.
Yeah. I was so here for people that say, because it's been going around the IWC, right? The first people mentioned, like, oh, Cody Rhodes should just turn heel. Guys, first of all, he's your top baby face. Roman Reigns.
He's not turning heel.
He's not turning heel. Like,
not
Roman
right
Reigns
now.
At this point is not even part-time. So if Cody Rhodes is turning heel, like, who's your top guy? Because they're not pushing LA Knight to that degree. They're not pushing. I mean, you can say the best addition would be Jey Uso. And if that's your top face, then guys, what are we doing here? Or maybe a CM Punk, a Seth. But still,
the only other person that, and maybe it's too soon, and maybe because he's such a force, it kind of like the Undertaker, when I don't think he necessarily has to be champion, but the only other guy I could think of would be Fatu.
Right? Yeah. I mean, Solo Sikoa makes more sense because he would. But again, but you still do Cody and Solo again, so I don't know.
Right.
That would make sense either in that regard, but yeah, so for Cody Rhodes, right? Like, guys, like, he's not, for some odd reason, Brian, people want this guy to turn heel. They want him to turn him into this Homelander heel act, to where I agree. Listen, it could be cool. It could be fun. But guys, we need to understand, like, it's the timing of it all. Like, we need to do it at the right time to when it calls for it. Because the reality is that this dude is still a top merch seller. He is also one of your top baby faces. He gets the biggest reactions, not just like a Jey Uso yeet stick. This is far different, to where you listen to the crowd once Cody Rhodes was face-to-face with The Rock, and he's in the top segments within this calendar year. You can't say that about a face
in wrestling.
In wrestling, and it's working. And as far, and listen, and I've said this before about Cody Rhodes, right? Because I don't want to sound hypocritical. Like, when he comes out there sometimes and he's unrealistically like just coming out there with just the 5-piece suit and the smile, it's very just like, it's weird. And it comes across just very, like, I don't want to say forced, but just very off-putting. But even for me, like, for me to feel that way, the stats and everything else that back it up, it still tells you that it's working, though, right? This is not a situation like with Hulk Hogan, right? When he turned NWO, the timing was perfect to do it when he was forming with NWO, right? Even with Stone Cold Steve Austin, now we can say that the what shtick, worked, and it was fun to a certain degree, but it was not pulling the numbers and merchandise sales and ratings and metrics that it did with the 316 gimmick, because Vince McMahon just turned him just freaking heel just for no freaking reason. And it hurt frickin' Stone Cold stock, and Vince McMahon was really pissed off about that and how that transpired. So what I'm trying to say is, guys, is that you can't just turn somebody heel for the sake of turning heel. And listen, there's a lot of issues in this company, Brian, but turning Cody Rhodes heel should be the last thing on everybody's mind. I get it. It sounds cool and all, but the fact is that Cody Rhodes is your top face. He's been in your top best segments in your company. He is pulling merchandise. The crowd and everything pops and all. He's in the top meet and greets for fans to go and meet and to go sign autographs and whatnot. He's just the guy right now. And for you to just turn him heel just for the sake of turning heel, it doesn't make sense. And then now I'll go to John Cena. I'll try to make this short. People say, oh, John Cena needs to turn heel. And I'll be honest, I didn't think this in the moment because I still didn't know how to really feel about who should really join alongside The Rock. But the more I think about Cena, that doesn't even really make sense because it's his last year. This is his last redemption year. Like, he's going to win his 17th world championship as a heel. Right. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Like, some people, we got to think about these things, man. It's just going to be awkward when he gets that final, 17th world championship and he walks to the sunset as a heel. And it's like, oh, do we cheer him? He's a heel. I don't know if it would be weird to cheer him, right? That'd just be blurring the lines. So I don't even know if John Cena turning heel makes sense at all. So I don't know who the hell it's going to be. Maybe, I guess, the only person, Brian, and I even mentioned this in the episode just this past Sunday. Maybe CM Punk. I don't know. I don't think they're going to turn CM Punk heel. That would also be kind of the reason why I think people mention Punk is that, at least trying to be fair, is like, oh, it ties back to Paul Heyman and his relationship with The Rock, to where we talk about this favor, like the favor kind of comes back into full circle and say, listen, Punk's kind of motivation or his motive is that, oh, in order for me to finally main event WrestleMania and win a world title, I got to make a deal with the devil. You know what I'm saying? To where I guess that makes a little bit more sense than a Cody and a Cena. But I don't think they're going to go that route, and I don't think that would be the first decision that I would do. And the other decision would be a Drew McIntyre. Now, a Drew McIntyre, to where his relationship with the bloodline, right? To where, like, he keeps getting the short end of the stick. Everything kind of comes back to the bloodline in regards to Drew's motives. And you can argue that it would be a cool little twist to where, like, you know what? If you can't beat him, join him, right? To where kind of everything kind of comes back into full circle, to where Drew's main motive was the bloodline and how much they've done him dirty, costing him championships and victories. And now all of a sudden, like, you know what? If you can't beat him, join him. Let me finally get my moment at WrestleMania and win a world championship. So those are just some ideas, and I'm sure, we'll go more in depth about it. But Brian, your final takes in regards to that.
I'll save it for one of our last segments because it'll tie into that anyway. So
yeah. So those are kind of like my thoughts, at least, in regards to, who's going to be selling their soul to the final boss himself. But yeah, as far as, again, the segment itself, man, it was all over the place. It was weird. It was bipolar. It was, I can't argue and say that it wasn't slightly confusing, but we understood the gist of what Brian Gerwitz, his writer, and what was trying to be accomplished. And even when you get to the nuts and bolts of it, it could be fun if you do it properly. And at this point, Brian, to where we talk about The Rock, I even mentioned this last episode as well. It's like The Rock would always say, oh, enjoy the ride that The Rock's taking you on. Well, Brian, at this point, we have no choice but to jump on that train. We really don't have a choice because the ride that Triple H is taking us on, man, that ship is going straight into a fucking ditch because it has been a bumpy, no pun intended, but a rocky ride with Triple H in our road to WrestleMania right now. So we're going to jump on that freaking train. Yep. The Rock, I just hope that he just doesn't swerve left and hit into a tree. That's just all we hope for.
I have to believe my heart of heart, and I know, it's writers, it's wrestling, it's last minute, it's whatever, but like it is The Rock and it is WrestleMania, and it just, in the back of my mind, I gotta hold out hope that y'all gonna do this right? But fuck, man, I don't know.
It's like there's a plan, right? You're telling me there's a plan, right? Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it'll be interesting. We'll know more. We'll talk about, of course, Elimination Chamber. We know that's when Cody Rhodes is going to give his answer to The Rock, and of course the Elimination Chamber match itself and what transpires there. But so yeah, those are our thoughts. And again, if you want to hear more of my thoughts about the situation, especially that fucking press conference, I ain't gonna say no more about the press conference. You hear me on Instagram and TikTok. I even said it there, and I even said it on the podcast, man. I mean, it's just it's so annoying how we keep pulling back the curtain. Like, we got to stop, man, because we keep doing this, man. Like, it's just another step to where kayfabe, along with pro wrestling, is just officially just a nail in the fucking coffin at this point. And it's just, and without that, there's no pro wrestling, man. There's no suspending disbelief. There's no connection. There's no mystique. There's nothing. There's just absolutely nothing. And I'll just leave it at that. So, let's just dive into Monday Night Raw, man. Let's just dive into the nuts and bolts of today's episode. So, look, before I get into, let me just say this, because we'll get into the main event, which has got a lot of people talking, right? As if I were to say anything about this show, there was the main event, which absolutely kicked ass. I mean, all four of these ladies did an amazing job. And as the rest of the show was a complete fucking disaster. It just was. But let's start off with the main event. Listen, I know I've been very harsh on Monday Night Raw because for justified reasons, but I want to start off with the positive, which was this main event. So we'll talk about that to start off, right? Which was a tag title match. This was Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez versus Naomi and Bianca Belair for the tag titles, man. Like I said, man, both of these four ladies completely saved the show. I mean, this was legit. Without this match, without this, these four ladies going at it, this show just from top to bottom would have been absolute dog shit. So thank you to these four ladies, and much props to all of these four ladies for just going out there and doing their thing and just completely just running on all cylinders, man. Did a really, really fine job. And even Dominic Mysterio, the false finishes that were added with this matchup, to where it really actually felt like a tag title, like a title match that was on the line. As Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, when it was all said and done, are now your new WWE Women's Tag Champions, as Liv Morgan pinned Naomi for the W, thanks to a little bit of interference from Dominic. So the titles have changed, which you kind of had a feeling going into Elimination Chamber, and with Jade Cargill and her potential return probably coming sooner rather than later. Let me speak about the matchup, right? I'll try to make this short. Like I said, I don't think I'll say anything different about the match that hasn't already been said. I thought the match overall, as it went further and further into it, I thought got even better. As all four of these ladies were on it. They were running on all cylinders. I would, again, this is just slight nitpicks. I don't know if you would even call it a nitpick, at least for me, but I think there were maybe one or two too many false finishes in this match. I think it was just a tad bit overboard with the false finishes, but still, outside of that, the matchup itself was fine. And the one thing is also kind of weird is after the matchup, when the pyro goes off for heels that win tag titles, I just don't see the connection with that. Like when pyro goes off, right, and the talent is hoisting up a championship, wouldn't you want that to be a baby face? Like it's a
initially I thought it was going to be Jade for like coming out. I was like,
and that's another thing too. Like, so you do the match, you do the title change, and that's it. The show just goes off the air. So it's like good match, very good match, probably arguably one of the best matchups so far this year. But when it comes to the cliffhanger, man, to hook your audience to the end of the show, no Jade Cargill, no nothing. And I guess we're going to, save that for either maybe after Elimination Chamber, or maybe Jade Cargill does return at Elimination Chamber. But I think, by the time now, the fact that we're at Elimination Chamber and getting to Mania, I believe this is where you'll probably start seeing Jade Cargill at some point. But the whole celebratory thing with the heels and the pyro going off, I just don't understand that. Like, why are you creating this scene for heels to where, oh, look at us, we got championships. And when Pyro goes off, people would be cheering like in House of Glory, but they're heels. So I don't know. There's just a weird disconnection there. And the fact that there was no cliffhanger, I'm like, good match, but we had to get some more, man, to end the show, you know? But again, overall, this matchup was really, really good. Much props to all these ladies. Again, I've said it for fucking years, man, about Liv Morgan and how damn good she is. We've talked about how Naomi, how she is so damn good at this shit, man. And Bianca
Raquel's
Belair,
even getting better, man. I gotta give a shout out to her.
She played her role flawlessly as well. All four of these ladies did a phenomenal job. Bryan, your takes, man, before we get to the rest of the show, your thoughts on this main event.
Yeah, it was really a fantastic match. Like you said, I mean, shout out to all four of them. The false finishes were exciting. I mean, yeah, could have been one or two less, sure, but I mean, it was good. It was exciting. Yeah, so I mean, I got no problem really with them losing the titles. I'm just wondering. So Jade's either coming back on SmackDown or the Chamber. Yeah, because I don't think. Well, maybe they could wait till the SmackDown after, but it's got to happen by or at the Chamber, I think. And also we got SmackDown coming up, and I know the Elimination Chamber is set. But I mean, I feel like they've done it before. You know, you think there's any possibility that Jade comes in, takes somebody out, and now she's also in the chamber, or do you think they wait until afterwards?
I think they'll wait till afterwards. I don't think there's a person that they would do that to where they take them out just to give Jade Cargill a spot. And I think that's for Jade. I think that there is still improvement that needs to be made to where I don't know if she's ready for that type of match. I mean, sure, she's with a bunch of females that can help her out and do the heavy lifting, of course. But I think that when you look at the women in this match, you have Bayley, you have Roxanne, you have Alexa Bliss. I don't see them as bad, even though as I critique this booking for justified reasons. I don't think WWE would be that stupid enough to where it's going to make a Bayley or somebody else look that foolish just to add Jade Cargill last minute. So I think if she is going to be involved, it's either she's going to be involved at the Chamber or, like you said, probably the SmackDown after the Chamber. So
yeah. So I mean, like you said, awesome match. And yeah, we'll see what happens with Jade and you know how all that goes down. But I think now you have to, you know, Raquel and Liv, they're going to be your tag champs. Liv's not winning that Elimination Chamber.
No,
you're going to have whatever happens between Naomi, Bianca, and Jade has got to be it, and let Raquel and Liv go establish tag team wrestling in the women's division. You know?
Yeah, and who knows now, man? Like, so at this point, Bryan, I don't know how you feel, as at least that we're talking a women's elimination chamber, because I agree with you at this point with Liv Morgan, right? To where she's probably not going to win this chamber now because she has this tag title. What would you say now that it could be Bianca Belair that wins this title and faces Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania if she is the one to be the one that attacked Jade Cargill and she does go full on heel? I think at this point that's probably what they're going to do, because we go down. Listen, now, if it was up to me, I would give Alexa Bliss this chamber because she is honestly the one that is truly rocking on all cylinders after her return at the Royal Rumble. I mean, I don't know if you watched, Bryan, the vignette that she cut. It was arguably the best thing on the show. I mean, she delivered her lines and her mannerisms and her tone and her pitch was absolutely perfect. And the shtick that she could potentially be with the Wyatt Six, I mean, who knows with the Wyatt Six if they can even get that back on track and add that same type of spark that they had before. But just Alexa Bliss herself, to where, and shout out to Bray Wyatt, man, because whatever Bray Wyatt was able to influence on this woman, it's working, bro. You can see it. Maybe not to his stature, but you could see that there's bits and pieces of what Bray Wyatt has influenced on her. And I'm telling you, man, why not? Alexa Bliss as a freaking heel and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Let's fucking book it. Why not? But because of the fact that now Bianca is just lost this tag title and she potentially could be the one to attack Jade Cargill and be a full-on heel, it would make the most sense for Rhea Ripley's title reign to give Bianca Belair this Elimination Chamber victory. I mean, what do you think about that, man?
No, I Alexa Bliss, I think it would just be, not that I would have an issue with it, but just her returning now and winning it with everybody else involved, I just don't see them doing that. So
no, I don't either.
It's going to be Bianca, I think, and that's why I was saying, when does Jade show up? And that would be the perfect, Bianca wins the chamber, she's standing tall, boom, Jade's music hits. And you don't have to do it in just a stare down, really. That's all that needs to happen, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably gonna be Bianca.
Yeah, and probably so, yeah. Because I mean, Bayley and Roxanne are doing their thing on NXT and on the main roster, so it's not going to be one of them. I would just say F it. Again, if I had the booking pen, I would give it to Alexa Bliss, but you're right, they're not going to do that. And then again, we talked about Liv Morgan. It's not going to be Liv Morgan because she has this tag title. So yeah, that just leaves Bianca and Naomi, and it's probably going to be one of those two to where Jade is going to most likely get involved some way, somehow, and then that's going to kick things into high gear.
Do you think it could come down to the last two, Bianca and Naomi, and then Jade, just
that
comes
would be
out?
Fun. That actually would be fun, honestly. I really would not have an issue with that at all, to be honest, because if you are going to do a moment to where you do a turn or to create a headline from that show, why not, man? And then if that's where you want to have Jade Cargill return and do whatever, then yeah, I'm honestly all for it, to where Bianca ends up pinning Naomi and wins the chamber. So that's something that I would definitely do because it makes sense for the story of what they're trying to tell. Yeah. And I do hope that, Brian, because and let's face it, I mean, this story has been stop and go. It's like they haven't really done much to evolve this story. And then finally, it was maybe 2 weeks ago to where Nick Aldis was backstage and they showed like, oh, here's the footage. We finally now have something about this mystery attacker, because they've been stalling because they don't know where to go with it. But now that we're like less than maybe a month and a half away, now we want to kick things into high gear. You know what I mean? So hopefully people still care enough because of the fact that it's been stop and go to where, Jade Cargill's going to return. But the question is, are fans, it's going to depend on the reaction. Do fans still care about the storyline? That's what's also going to come down to it as well. But we'll see. But yeah, the main event was awesome. Again, much love to all of these ladies that were involved. Just again, good stuff from Dominic as well. He played his role very well too. Just a really good main event, man, to where it actually, the crowd was into it. And I'm going to talk about this crowd and how just, even I can speak for myself, last week, the crowd all night was flat. When it came down to like the matches and the nuts and bolts, like outside of the singing along, right, the eating, the crowd was dead. Nobody gives a fuck.
Oh yeah, I was on the edge of my seat for that match. I really was.
And you see the crowd, man. The crowd was into it as the match went on. The crowd was truly into it. That's what I mean, man, about fan interest and watching the crowd. Like, it's one thing for us how we feel, Brian, but the crowd being there live in attendance, you can see that, there's not just like maybe 6 or 10 people just giving golf claps. It's majority of that crowd that are on their feet.
On their feet. Oh,
dude, like this is crazy. Right. That's what I mean, man. It's like crowd reactions can tell you a whole story of how things are going in a wrestling
Absolutely.
show. So really good stuff all around. And yeah, just again, there's nothing more I can really say. It was a really good main event and it was much needed. Because the rest of the show, man, fucking A. I mean, my God, does this have issues? Let's just start from the top, right? Again, I'm not going to go.
Do we have to? Let's start in the middle. I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Let's just know we're going to peel the Band-Aid off, Brian, with this first segment, right? Logan Paul and CM Punk. I mean, look, guys, first of all, they go back and forth, right? Logan Paul, like, this was a very weird promo. Listen, Logan Paul, I don't mind Logan Paul, but this promo was not one of his best. He's just like, oh, why don't you like me, CM Punk? What is it
And
about
his
you
facial
like
expressions and shit, he's
yeah,
a child. He's a child.
It was not one of Logan Paul's best performances. It was a very tainted promo segment. Even from CM Punk's end, it wasn't really like the best jabs going at it back and forth. And it just led to Logan Paul just slapping Punk across his face and just hightailing it. So it was a very tainted promo. Punk and Logan doesn't really make any sense at all. That's a disaster waiting to happen. You have a dude that's in his 20s that can fly from pillar to post, and you have a guy in CM Punk who has a miraculous injury history. Yeah, like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say we shouldn't put these two together. That would make no sense either way. So I don't know what that first segment accomplished really at all, to be honest with you. And then we move further on the show. This is a fucking doozy, right? A triple threat. Now, James, is there a title on the line? There's got to be something to fight for. No, there's none. It's just three dudes in a fucking triple threat match. You had Ludwig Kaiser, Pete Dunne, and Penta. Just throwing three dudes in a fucking triple threat, which I even saw it coming too. And I know you, Brian, you talked about it as well. And guys, they actually had Kaiser pin Pete Dunne, a heel pinning a heel, right? Because we're throwing these two heels. Like, guys, like, what are we throwing Kaiser and Dunne together in this match? What's the beef between them? Because they have beef with Penta? What the fuck? We've already seen these matches with Penta. You're throwing out wrestlers and having matches just for the sake of them. There's no story. There's no substance. You're just throwing out wrestlers to have wrestling matches. It's not a storyline. It's just confusion, and you have a heel pinning another heel. How does the heel Pete Dunne look by getting pinned by Ludwig Kaiser? That doesn't make sense booking wise, guys. It makes none. It's like, oh, well, James, they had to protect Penta. What did you want to do? Don't book the match. Period. The match shouldn't be a thing. So it makes no sense. This match was so fucking weird. Moving on, and Brian, I'll get to your thoughts.
I got you.
I'm just gonna simulate through this entire show. So that was your triple threat. The New Day was in a match with LWO. Who the fuck cares? I mean, seriously, I can't put it more blunt. Who cares, man? It's the Jobberville of LWO against the New Day. And, wow, shocker, the New Day win this match. You have freaking, Dragon Lee go out there, trying to make the save. You had maybe a handful of people, guys. This is no joke. Go back and watch it yourself. There was maybe a handful of people that stood up when Dragon Lee's music hit. Everyone else, dude, did not give a fuck when Dragon Lee came out. They probably didn't even know who it even was that was coming out, because the music is just so bad now.
Yeah, I didn't until, I saw him. I didn't know who it was.
Yeah, again, the crowd was like, "Oh, who was that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's Dragon Lee." Oh, okay, cool. Well, do we give a fuck? No. And again, that's no shade to Dragon Lee, man. I really want to throw that out there. It's not a shade to Dragon Lee. It's just the honest truth, man. I know I come across it like an ass, but it's because I'm so frustrated with this company to think that, what is this doing to get us more excited about the Chamber of WrestleMania? What is it doing? It's doing absolutely nothing. So it was just complete filler. It was filler. That's all it was. And then you have Gunther, who comes out. He's ready for a fight, and he calls out Akira Tozawa, because I think they had like an exchange when Gunther was arriving to the arena, because we do that every show, to where we arrive with our coffees and our luggage, and you saw like Gunther exchange like a look with Alpha Academy before the show. So Akira Tozawa had a matchup. It was pretty much a squash match. He takes out Tozawa and Otis. He takes out Otis after the match. Jey Uso comes out for the save. And guys, for the second week in a row, Gunther is running away and hightailing it. The 10 weeks of hell that Gunther promised to Jey Uso ain't looking that bad for Jey Uso. He's probably looking for ice water somewhere. That's how soothing this freaking 10 weeks of hell has been for Jey Uso. I mean, do we stop and think, Brian, to where if you're going to have Jey Uso win this championship, which is already stupid, but if you're going to do that, Why are you not making Gunther that much more diabolical? Does it make sense enough to make your champion actually look like a champion and actually do what he says, which is giving Jey Uso I'm going to make your life a living hell up until WrestleMania? He hasn't done shit since then. He's gotten his ass whooped and he's hightailed it. That's Gunther's booking. Moving on. You had a championship match. You had a face Lyra Valkyria, and you had a face Dakota Kai for a championship. And guess what? Shocker, Lyra wins this match. So you had a chance for maybe Ivy Nile, right, to showcase her heel character, just for Dakota to beat her last week, just for Dakota to take a nonsensical L this week. The booking, guys, this is not me putting on a shtick to where I'm being negative. This shit sucks. This booking sucks, man. What is this doing for Dakota? What is this doing for Ivy Nile and her potential feud with Lyra Valkyria? It's doing absolutely nothing. It was the same match 4 weeks ago, right? The same exact matchup, and we're seeing it again. It's face versus face, which is already fucking confusing. We don't give a shit about heels and faces anymore in this company. We really don't. We just throw wrestlers out there to throw out matches. It's fucking ridiculous. Moving on. You also had Braun Breaker to face a heel, right? Heel Braun Breaker against heel Dominic Mysterio. Do you see the trend, guys, that's happening in this show? It's Triple H not giving a fuck. That's what it is. And you had Braun Breaker and even Finn Balor like face to face, and like they had like Braun Breaker clear house of the Judgment Day, and he's like trying to get the crowd to bark. Guys, nobody's barking. Nobody cares because people are so confused of what this character Braun Breaker even is. It makes no sense, right? We can like these people, guys. Listen, I like these people. I like Braun Breaker. I like Finn Balor, but the booking sucks. People are confused. Watch the crowd, man. The freaking Breaker is trying to get fans to bark, and they're not barking because they don't know what he is, bro. And you're throwing him in with another heel that's Dominic. It doesn't make sense. It's heel versus heel. Braun Breaker wins by DQ because the Judgment Day got involved. He clear house, and the crowd doesn't care. Guys, the crowd's on their thumbs. They don't care about Braun Breaker. He's backstage, right? He's like, giving like looks to AJ Styles. I'm Braun Breaker, and I'm the champion. I'm this heel, and then he goes out there playing a face fucking character. It's just all he did for 2 months is just be backstage and stare at people, and now here he is coming out clearing house like he's a face. Guys, this is fun. I never thought, Brian, it would get this bad. Seriously, it is really, when you really talk about it and dissect it, it's bad. It is so bad. It just even gets worse. Rhea Ripley, right, and Io Sky, two faces, are gonna fight for a championship next week for the world title. Guys, I don't understand. Like, do we care about heels versus faces? And you wonder why. You heard sources from Fightful, how talent is so frustrated because they don't know what they are. And you're seeing it firsthand to where wrestlers are being thrown out there on the fly to just change their character, to switch their shtick up because they're thrown in the worst possible situation. And now you're putting in Rhea against Io Sky, a face versus face title match next week. You had a face versus face, a heel versus heel, another face versus face next week, and you had a heel pin another fucking heel. And that's, man. I'll finish the rest of this show. I'll try to be quick. Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. I mean, decent, okay segment. I mean, it was very, I don't know. It just kind of ended with, Cody, I'm going to take your title and I'm going to win the Elimination Chamber. It's just like, you better not sell your soul to the devil. Like, you better not sell your soul to The Rock. Like, what do you think you're doing? And Cody Rhodes tried to counterplay it. Like, oh, hey, like, you turned on the Shield, you did this and you did that. So I get what the shtick was, man. It just, again, it was another very tainted promo. I didn't really do anything for me. It just came across just really silly at the end of the day. Sami Zayn. Let me end things with Sami Zayn, right? Again, Sami Zayn, man, is tremendous. I'll say that for first and foremost. He really got a good promo, and he's trying, man. But when I listen to Sami Zayn cut a promo, Brian, to where he talks about Kevin Owens, he talks about his friendship with Kevin Owens and this and that. I don't know if people have ever watched Charlie Brown. Do you guys remember like when Charlie Brown would walk into his teacher's office and you would hear, "Mah, mah, 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 mah." That's all I hear when Sami Zayn talks, because it's the same regurgitated stuff that we've been listening to from Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the past what's felt like 10 years.
20 years if you want to.
20 years now, if you want to add, go
close to it.
Close to it, right? Absolutely. And listen, is the unsanctioned match, is it going to be good? Absolutely. Are they going to do their thing? Absolutely. Is this a better situation than a WrestleMania? Absolutely, no doubt. But guys, there is legit nothing else left for these two to do, because we have seen everything that these two have had to do for decades upon decades, man. And again, they had to put this in a storyline, Brian, to where it's the last time ever you'll see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn put into a storyline, into a matchup, because the fans were like, "Oh my God, this again? We're doing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn again?" And guys, 2025, we're still doing it. It's just not making me, and I know it's not making a whole lot more people excited about the Chamber and about WrestleMania. And then you had that women's main event that completely saved this entire show. And that's all I got. So Brian, that was a lot. That's my quick recap, and we'll discuss more. But what are your takes, man, overall about Monday Night Raw?
So starting with the opener, man, I mean, you said it, this cannot be leading to a Punk Logan Paul WrestleMania. Please, fuck no.
No.
This has got to be like, okay, you're going to be in the Elimination Chamber. Pug, please show him every ounce of that Elimination Chamber and be done with it.
Right.
And that's, God, if they're teasing something for Mania, holy shit. That's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, that's no interest at all.
No, me neither.
It was kind of interesting to me. The Braun Breaker Finn Balor thing. And I only say that because, again, if you want to try to read into things, which you can't, I feel like things have happened so many, and we see things in the backgrounds and what they might mean, and usually it doesn't pan out. So I don't know if it's just something there, but if this is going to be a Finn Balor Braun thing, okay, I can get behind that. A little demon character mixed in there, I can get with that. But we just had him, Braun and AJ Styles last week, or was maybe 2 weeks ago, whatever it was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what is it? Like, you got Finn and AJ here, either one of them, if you want to do a feud with Braun, excellent. Okay, let's do that. But yeah, it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Right. You know what they're gonna do, Brian? They're gonna just mesh everybody in a matchup. They're gonna put Braun Breaker, Styles, Balor, and maybe for the heck of it, just like a Sheamus or whatever the fuck, and throw in a Fatal 4. Seriously, because this is what we do, Brian. This is what they've done in the past. That's what they're going to do with the tag titles over on SmackDown. They're going to throw in DIY. They're going to throw in Pretty Deadly. They're going to throw in the Street Profits, and they're going to throw in LDF, Legado del Fantasma, because they have nothing else but to throw everybody in one matchup, and that's what we're going to get for the Intercontinental title. But yeah, good to you.
Yeah. To the triple threat match, I had said this a couple weeks ago. Like, yeah, I get, they want to protect Penta right now. He's not going to take the L.
No.
But the feud here is Ludwig and Penta. Why are we doing the triple threat thing? Like, do a feud with Ludwig and Penta, build that up, have the matches, whatever. That's the feud, man. Like, stop with, the triple threat and Pete Dunne and, whatever. It's just making it not mean anything. The Sammy KO thing, I mean, yeah, we've seen it. The saving grace for me is I firmly like that match is going to steal the show. It's in Toronto, elimination, unsanctioned.
Sure.
That match is going to steal the show, and that's just what I'm, why I'm watching for that. But yeah, the story is the same. Hopefully and I kind of think this, knock on wood, will be the last one. Toronto Elimination Chamber, unsanctioned.
Yeah, you would
And
think.
they're going to go out there. They're going to throw everything. They're going to have a banger, man. They really are. They're going to fucking kill it. So yeah, that's kind of the Monday Night Raw. How I know I'm leaving a couple segments out of there, but yeah, nothing. The face versus face, Rhea and Io. So tell me Io's not winning the Elimination Chamber without telling me. So she's not winning. She's going to have the match against Rhea, which she's not going to win.
No.
And then I don't know where Io goes after that, but
no.
Yeah, it's you're right, man. I mean, from the start of the show, and I'm a hater of Logan Paul, big fucking hater. I don't care. I'll be a hater till the day I die. But opening the show, I mean, that not interested. So the women, you're right. That main event, that was awesome. That was really awesome. So
yeah. Absolutely. What about Gunther, man? What do you think about Gunther?
So this is again. I don't think this bodes well for Gunther, but I just look at that match and that segment as a whole, right? And towards the end of last year, he had that little run where he's losing his confidence or whatever, and I just look at where they're going, and I'm telling you, man, Jay's winning that title at Mania.
Yep.
And I feel like they're gonna it almost felt like, okay, I gotta have this match against Tozawa, who I'm gonna dominate, but then doesn't really dominate. And then when Otis initially steps up to him, he kind of backs away and whatever. So I just wonder if they're gonna start going back to that doubting my confidence, I'm like a coward now, and that's not Gunther's character, man. And
no, man.
That's I just
you want the heels to feel and look dominant, man. Actually do what they say, to where it's the complete opposite. You're having your champion look like a clown and a schmuck. It makes no sense. By the way, now this is off topic. It's funny because I mentioned a multi-person matchup for Braun Breaker's title. That's the rumor right now.
Already set, right?
It's already set. Likely to defend the IC title in a multi-man bout at Mania. There you go. It's going to be Finn. It's going to be frickin'
AJ, maybe
AJ Styles, and maybe one other person, or maybe it's just that triple threat. Maybe it's just Finn, AJ, and Braun Breaker. Man, this is the booking, but we're just throwing people for the sake of throwing people. And yes, there's a title involved, so there's something to fight for. But guys, you're throwing in Finn and Styles, who have done nothing in regards to their interactions of why they would even have animosity going into this matchup to begin with. It doesn't make sense. You have two heels, and then you have the one face that's Styles. It doesn't add up, man. It still doesn't add up in regards to even with a title being involved. It's so dumb. And what do you think, man, about Lyra and her women's Intercontinental Championship match with Dakota Kai?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I haven't even really been able to get into the IC title, her as the champion to begin with, really. I don't know. I mean, Ivy Nile, I think, we saw her, run out at the end there. I mean, I want to see more of Ivy Nile, man. I mean, she's, a fucking brick shit house, man.
She really is. Even though she's teeny tiny, but she's freaking.
Jesus Christ,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So, I would have to say, at Mania, maybe if that's where this ends up, Ivy Nile is going to be your IC champion. And if they continue this shtick with American Made and whatever, I mean, that's her holding the IC title. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, with Valkyria so far, and again, no shade to her or what she's doing, there hasn't been any connection with me or the title,
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that too. Sorry to cut you off, but frickin' when she would go out there, right? She does her shtick to where the crowd goes woo when she does raise her arms up. Guys, this is the crowd when she does that. crickets. Nobody says a word. You might maybe get one or two people like from the rampway that'll do it. That'll do her woo shtick. Guys, nobody cares. She's holding on to a title. So you would think that, oh, this woman's important. This woman's special. Guys, she comes out to maybe a mild mid-reaction. And when she does her shtick, nobody does it because nobody cares, man. Right? Braun Breaker's trying to get people to bark in the crowd. Nobody's barking, dude. Like these are not, they're not characters. They're just good wrestlers. And that's why we talk about people being over, right? Because we got a cool little yeet shtick, right? And we got a cool little catchphrase, and all of a sudden we're over. We got a cool little sing-along, right? But back in the day, man, people were actually over because boxes were checked off, man. I'm talking everything, bro. Everything. With the theme music, the presentation, the look, how they talk on the microphone, the storylines that they're involved in, the connection within that story. Every box was checked. You're not getting that today because not only are we just throwing the foundation of what we loved about pro wrestling out the window to where, Brian, it is legit becoming unwatchable. Like, thank God, once again, thank God for that main event because I was this close to turning the shit off. By 10 o'clock, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It is so bad. It is so fucking bad to where it is not even watchable because we're just throwing wrestlers. Doesn't matter if they're a heel or face. It doesn't fucking matter because who gives a fuck? It is becoming that unwatchable, and the crowd is even telling you. And the wrestlers on top of that are already voicing their frustration about this situation. I don't know if I'm a face. I don't know if I'm a heel. Can somebody tell me what I am? Because I don't know. And mentioning the Lyra Valkyria situation, right? To where, and I know I'm all over the place here, but like people would say to me like, oh, well, James, they've done heel versus face or heel versus heel and face versus face. They've done it all the time. Not to this degree. We are seeing that every single week. You would rarely, Brian, maybe see a baby face against a baby face. Shit, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you would rarely see it. And if you did, it would make sense because the story would make it make sense. Now we're not even making anything make sense. We're just throwing people in matches. We're like throwing baloney at the wall to see if it sticks. Braun Breaker and let's see, Dominic Mysterio, right? Let's see, Lyra Valkyria is going to face Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai go out there. And it sucks for the wrestlers because like you're asking them to kind of just call the audible to where like they have to switch their narrative, they have to switch their persona. And if you're in that wrestling ring to where I know a lot of people and have spoke to over the last 2 years where they wrestle in that ring, you know, we know how hard it is. It's hard to change that perception of your character on the fly like that on a weekly to daily basis. It's not doing a service to the wrestlers who are trying to build a connection. Mia Yim, she's mentioned so many times about her character and how when she goes out there, there's crickets because there's no connection, man. And we want to claim, Brian, that this is the best era of pro wrestling. My fucking ass, bro. Nobody's over. This shit sucks.
I'm biased, of course, because it was my era or whatever. But probably to this day, I think one of the best face matchups, right, was Hogan and Savage and how that storyline developed and happened.
Yeah, right.
And even back then, you're right. It didn't, like, if you were a wrestling fan and you know the heel and the face and whatever, like if there was a time where, you know, two faces were going to go at it or one of them might turn on the other or whatever, it was an event. It was important because it didn't happen on a weekly basis, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's part of it, of this. It's so saturated with it that it doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly.
I want to touch on the Seth Rollins and Cody promo. Just because I'm tying all this, like I'm even kind of, I'll be honest, looking past Elimination Chamber. And all this to me is to get to Mania. And if that's how I'm looking at it, you know, you got Jay and Gunther. Okay. We don't quite know who Cody's fighting. but all this storyline and this promo with Seth, I mean, that's why this is kind of sucking so bad. Is because Seth a year ago, everything, the whole WWE, right? Essentially, the superstars backed Cody to beat Roman, to dethrone Roman.
Right.
And now a year later, you're coming back and now Cody might be joining forces with some or all of the people just a year ago.
Right.
The whole WWE was against. And I don't think it's going to play out quite that way, but it's just been so all over the place, and it all comes back to that still. The Bloodline, The Rock, Roman, Paul Heyman, we're still there. And it's just, I don't know. So that's why I was saying, like, the only saving grace that can possibly be right now for me personally is something with The Rock. And if that's what we got, if that's what it is, like he's going to be a backstage authority figure type thing, calling the shots, like, that's not great, man. Not great.
No, because also, like, we don't know like what The Rock's schedule is, because he has all these other projects outside of course, being one of the board members of TKO, to where like he might not even have time to prepare and to wrestle a matchup. And man, I'm telling you, man, if you were going to have The Rock involved, he should have wrestled Roman Reigns last year, man. He should have done. Cody Rhodes should have won this title by now. This is what I'm saying, guys, right? We kept saying, oh, struggle and adversity. Cody Rhodes, he's got to struggle. He's got to win that title WrestleMania 40. No, he should have won the title at 39. Strike while the iron is hot. And then you should have done Rock and Roman in Philadelphia at WrestleMania 40 last year. And we wouldn't be in this fucking situation, man. But here we are, because
2 years later. 2
years fucking later, we're still into this, to where people... there's a lot of people, I'm sure, Brian, that don't even care to even watch Rock and Roman at this point anymore, because the spark is done. It's fucking done. The steam is out. It's done anymore. It's so frustrating, man. Like, this company right now is just completely, productivity wise, it is so unwatchable. It just is. To pulling back the curtain, face versus face, heel versus heel, redundant segments, the same regurgitated promos and segments as well. It's just bad. It's just bad television, bro. And again, global numbers with Netflix will tell you that story. They have lost viewership since joining Netflix in the premiere show. They have lost hundreds of thousands of viewers already within the span of what? It's been now almost going up.
We're not even out of February yet.
Almost 3 months, not even out of February, nearing almost 3 months from now. And guys, the shows have not gotten better. They're just getting worse, man. And we're now in an era of pro wrestling. We talk about change, Brian, in pro wrestling. This is not the pro wrestling that I remember even 5 years ago. I mean, we're in an era to where like everything is completely just convoluted, to where we pull back the curtain. We're just saying, fuck it. We're not protecting any characters anymore. We're just showing everything and all the magic tricks now. We're just not even just throwing random heel versus heel, face versus face matchup. But guess what? TKO is making their money. WWE is making their money. So they don't give a fuck, man. And fans want to praise this company for making fucking money. Like they're actually making a buck from this company, to where, oh, you see all the money that they're making? This is the best that WWE's ever been. Motherfucker, there is a difference between record revenue and productivity, actual television productivity. It is completely two separate things. You can learn from that by television ratings, streaming service numbers. You look at crowd reactions. You look at all of it. The product sucks. SmackDown is no better. NXT is at least somewhat watchable thanks to HBK and what their shtick's going on with TNA right now. Outside of that, man, it's bad. This is one of the worst buildups to a WrestleMania, if not the worst buildups to a WrestleMania I've ever seen. It is not good at all.
It hasn't been. I'm not looking forward from what we've seen so far. I mean, again, no anticipation, no excitement. Yeah.
Right. And the thing, and listen, if there's people out there, well, James, I'm excited to watch WrestleMania. I'm excited about this
Yeah.
and that. Good for you. Like seriously, that there's no shade, but guys, there's things, right, to where we talk about Jey Uso winning a championship, right? People are so excited to watch Jey Uso win a championship, or they want to see Cody Rhodes freaking turn heel, right? I'm a fan of Jinder Mahal. I actually don't mind Jinder Mahal, right? But just because I like Jinder Mahal, I have a personal preference about Jinder Mahal. Ain't no way in hell I'm going to say, yeah, he should have fucking won a world title several years ago. Because no,
Right.
because that's not good for the business or the company and the productivity of your television show, right? That there's a difference, guys, between what we like and just being full out honest of what we're watching. It's not good because the booking sucks, man. It sucks because this is not what pro wrestling was found upon. You can change you can go to a streaming service, you can partner up with TKO, you can partner up with the UFC, you can add all of these promotional ads, all of these advertisements that are now glued to the fucking wrestling ring now. You see freaking Prime Energy and freaking All American Beer and all this shit that's now in the wrestling ring, which is still crazy because Vince McMahon would have never done that. Michael Cole said it himself. You're seeing all this cool stuff, right? The bright lights, right? The camera effects, the camera shots, and we want to blow smoke up people's ass that thinking that this is the best, the bigger than the Attitude Era, as Triple H would want to say. To actually say that this is anywhere near the Attitude Era is a slap in the face to everybody that wrestled or was a part of the Attitude Era. At this point, we talk about AEW, and I don't know if this has anything to do with how bad WWE is and their productivity, but AEW, man, is doing a lot more things that are a lot more interesting right now. And that's not tribalism. That's not favoring a certain company. That's just the honest truth.
Yeah.
Because you look at over there, there's foundations, right? Tony Khan is finally getting away from the camera because Triple H continues to freaking put his freaking bearded, balded freaking face in front of the damn camera because he's too busy being on all the promotional ads and telling people, are you ready, freaking New Orleans? Are you ready, Las Vegas, for WrestleMania? Instead of actually booking the shows properly. Nobody cares, Triple H, about your nostalgia. Nobody cares about your fucking ego. Your shit is done. You have a gimmick in your chest. You can't play the game Triple H anymore. You are head of creative Paul Levesque. Start fucking booking and acting like it. And that's it, bro. Any final thoughts, Brian? Oh, that was a lot, but any final thoughts before we end things?
Unfortunately, I can't not tie it into this. Like, it's a kind of a Jake Paul societal effect on just how people view life or success and what that means, I guess. To where, like, yes, WWE's making record revenue and they got the Netflix deal and this deal and that deal and all the fucking deals. That's all awesome. Like this goes not in wrestling. This is just in any company, any business venture, whatever in life.
Yeah.
The best shit, the most captivating, the most gratifying, satisfying, it's fucking perfect. Comes from when you are up against the wall and fighting for your job or your life, or we gotta come up with good shit, or we don't exist. WWE wrestling as a whole now are in a time and place where you're all fat and happy to some degree. Like nobody's. I don't want to say nobody, but it's not back like the Attitude Era or the 60s or 70s where like this was you better make that show or you're not eating tonight. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah, no.
So, and I say that all to say that in so many different areas, and I keep saying this, like we accept the fraud as the real thing and celebrate it. And I use Jake Paul as an example, and that's why I'm the hater of it that I am. Is because you take a guy like Jake Paul, who again I've given him his kudos and what he can step into the ring and do. However, we see this guy, and granted, and I've said this too, if he dedicates full time and this is what he wants to do, sure, 5, 10, 15 years from now, maybe he actually is a wrestling superstar. But right now, he's a guy that is athletic, that has to go away from the camera and practice for 6 months, whatever it is, to get this one match down, and then go on. We won't see him for whatever.
Yeah.
And now you're putting him in segments of main event segments, to where these are the guys and women that can do it like that. It's the back of their fucking hand. They don't have to go out and practice 3 months to come out here and nail a promo or nail a match.
Right.
But it's presented, Jake Paul, you bring in the views because of your YouTube and whatever, and now it's fake as shit. It's so fraudulent. But that's where we are. That's society.
It's telling people like Corey Graves, like, let's demote you to NXT because you're not famous enough. We got to bring in Pat McAfee, who's on ESPN, and he's got his podcast and everything. That's just what it is, man. It really is.
And I'm telling you, like Jake Paul in particular, I don't want to. If they're going to continue to put him in these segments again, and I don't know how seriously he is taking it, but at the end of the day, the guy is about money. And I can't necessarily blame the guy for like, hey, I'm not going to practice and dedicate my life to this shit when I can just go do a podcast and make $50 million. Yeah, shout out to you, bro. But eventually, unless just by God's grace, he's going to hurt himself or, God forbid, somebody else. Because if you got to go out there and you're not a wrestler, you're not conditioned to do this day in, day out, change on the dime, and where you have to rehearse shit over and over and over to go out there and perform it live, you're going to fuck somebody up, period.
Yeah, and people don't want to really mention that too. His matches are heavily rehearsed. They are really heavily rehearsed. Now, I've said this before. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you still got to go out there and perform the real thing, which he does. But let's face it though. Like he's been a part-time role, and like you said, he goes home to his private gym and his trainers and trainees to put on this 1 or 2 matchups to where he has all this time. And then you have the wrestlers who are busting their ass, who are full-time doing this day in and day out. Yeah. It's just at this point, it's what's making you the most money, what's got the most clicks, and what's just going to what's an easy way to bring in the most eyeballs to your company.
Yeah.
Instead of actually building an actual character and a star, and you do it the right way. And
I say that all to say too, just with that promo with Punk, and I get it, he's new, working on it, whatever, but Jake Paul, like the facial expressions, like he
Logan
looked
Paul.
like, I'm sorry, Logan Paul. He's looked like a child. Like, you are not ready for this. You're not. You're good, but you're not ready for that. He's not.
As much as I don't mind Logan Paul, again, this is something, I don't mind Logan Paul, but I'm not going to blow smoke up people's ass and say, he should be fighting for a world championship or an opportunity. No, no, absolutely not. No. So yeah, man, I mean, listen, whether you guys like what we're saying or not, whether you like what we're saying or not, this is all just straight up honesty and just facts, man. It just is. This is what professional wrestling is. We don't care about, long-term storylines anymore. It's all about the short term. Nobody cares.
Even like a story that you can fucking follow.
Right. Exactly. Like there's no storylines that consistently hook you on a daily basis anymore. We don't care about heels. We don't care about faces. We don't care about the foundations of professional wrestling anymore. Because now, Brian, it's getting to the point, and we said this, to where maybe this could be good for WWE, maybe this could be bad. And several months into this new experiment with TKO and this new era of pro wrestling, It is
It hasn't gotten
completely
better. That's for
it's
sure.
not gotten better. It is starting
Yeah.
to get to the point to where it is unwatchable, and you mix in pulling back the curtain and reminding people, because we have promotional, advertisements and promotional deals with these other networks. Hey, guess what? That match you watched, it was fake. You know why? Because we did this and this. No fucking shit, bro. That's the fucking point. We want to suspend disbelief. Just let us do it for for the short term or something, man. Just let us be along for the ride. Meet us halfway. I don't give a fuck what Sally or Billy or Jimmy did backstage meshing up in a match. I get it. It's cool to look at, but we don't need to see it, bro. Not when you just did a segment or a matchup a week or two before. Stop. Enough, man.
I gotta say this too, and I don't even know if it was I can't remember where I saw it. Was Karrion Kross in a backstage segment, or this might even have been a commercial I've seen him on. But there's like a guy sitting at a computer, and Kross comes in, and I don't know, but I can't even remember if I saw it on Raw now. But if it was, like, even that little part by Kross, like, Kross is fucking awesome, man, but we don't fucking see him.
We don't fucking see him at all, because they got rid of AOP and now they don't know what the fuck to do with Kross. They're teasing.
Do you know what I'm talking about though? Was anything on Raw, or
no? I don't.
Was it a something? Was it a commercial?
It might have been a social media post, probably.
Maybe that's what it was, or like a commercial, or like a Netflix
about.
commercial. But anyway, he was funny in it, man. It was good.
Yeah, no, Karrion Kross is fantastic, man. Like, I guess, again, my hope is that they're maybe going to do something with Sami Zayn, because he's been going after Sami Zayn and his relationship with Kevin Owens. So I'm holding out hope that we're still going to do something with Kross. But yeah, like, we're going to put people that, like a Braun Breaker, and people, like, again, people who have talent, but we're going to miraculously put them out there with no character or creativity. When you have a character, a diabolical heel that's Kross, we'll just leave him off TV, because we don't know what the fuck to do with him anymore now that AOP's gone. It's fucking stupid, man. It is so this company is ass backwards. It is so ass backwards in WWE, in this company, to where
the Wyatt Six will reform at some point or come back, and Karrion's going to be a part of it at that point.
Right. I mean, guys, it's so unwatchable, man. I'm sorry. Listen, there might be some people that might actually like this shit. That's good for you, man. But guys, there's got to be a standard at some fucking point, man, to at least be honest, like a standard to where, like there's got to just be a bar to where, like, just raise your standards to where even people that I've met, Brian, that have watched the Attitude Era, that was part of your era, that is giving this company a pass for this type of booking, to where it's not even about what we like. It's just like, oh, you don't like it. No, it's not even about that anymore. It's never been about that at this point anymore. It's been about pure honesty, and it's about what the booking has been. The foundation is completely gone. It's gone. There's no more.
Like, I don't know what people think, or at least for me, and maybe you or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, sure, I have my favorites or whatever, but
absolutely,
I really don't give a shit who the champion is. Right. I want a good story.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Dude, Bray Wyatt, man, I couldn't have cared less if Bray Wyatt won a fucking championship at all.
Right.
Because Bray Wyatt was just so damn good, because whatever he was going to be a part of, he was going to elevate himself and the wrestler that he was with, and the show, which is Raw or SmackDown, that was a part of it. I don't give a fuck if it was a title or not. The title is secondary. The title is when it calls for it. When you do have that momentum, when you are properly booked and you win that championship, and your character goes up tenfold that much more because you have the title. But nowadays we just throw titles on titles because we deserve it, right? Jey Uso deserves a title because he's got a cool little shtick. Fuck off, man. Enough. It's just, let's give Lyra Valkyria a championship, even though she's nowhere near over. But let's just throw on a title on her, right?
That one still baffles me. Of all the other women who already are established, or I guess somebody like a Naomi who is established but could use another step up. Like, why?
The answer is just to throw a title on somebody. That's how we book people. When you have, and I'm so glad you said that, Brian. It's like we take people that are like a Karrion Kross, he's established, right? Naomi is established, right? All of these people, right, are established characters who have a character, an aura, and a presence that
and
makes
a
sense.
fan base following already.
And a fan base following already, right? Cody Rhodes, which is why I don't know why people want to see him turn heel, because the shtick is working. He's got the top rated segments to back it up. He's got the merchandise sales to back it up. And people just want to say, the title reign is stale, it's boring. Let's turn him heel. Thank God.
That's another thing. It's like me personally, I don't necessarily like Cody Rhodes' shtick per se.
No, I don't
but
either.
Undoubtedly, he's the best face or the top face in wrestling. Undoubtedly,
I can't go against the metrics and everything else. That's telling a completely different story. Just I've said it before. It's just like every week or every other week, he comes out with this smile and his 5-piece suit. Like it's just so like. Yeah. It's just weird and it's watered down, man. So trust me, I don't like the shtick either. I like Cody. I really do like Cody and respect Cody Rhodes. But sometimes the shtick comes off. It just doesn't hit sometimes. And but that's a personal preference, right? And but again, man, we can't go against the facts and we can't go against the metrics, right? With Cody Rhodes or whatever it is. But this company, man, is going in a completely opposite direction of what made us love professional wrestling in the first place. And what I'm watching, Brian, it's not pro wrestling. It is far from what me or you have watched pro wrestling over the last several decades. It is far from it, man.
Well, I guess we really are in the sports entertainment era, right? I guess. I don't know.
I guess so. I don't know, man. But that's going to do it for today's episode, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was this Monday Night Raw review, another abrupt recap review of a Monday Night Raw show, talking more about The Rock as well. We will talk about Elimination Chamber. So Elimination Chamber is this weekend. We will talk about it on Sunday. Most of you guys will catch it probably sometime this coming week. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. A very special edition of the podcast, a full pay-per-view review of Elimination Chamber, and a lot more fun stuff to come, man. We got AEW Revolution. We also got in a couple more months, we got AEW Double or Nothing to talk about as well. And of course, we got WrestleMania of whatever's left of the suspense and spark that's in WrestleMania. But we're going to talk about it. Man,
if there's an announcement, CM Punk and Logan Paul at Mania, I'm going to fucking lose my shit. God damn it.
You and me both, man. I'm just gonna be more baffled than anything if that happened. Or Logan, or a Logan Paul and John Cena too. That would even be more fucking baffling, man. Oh man. But WrestleMania, man, you can't wait. It's about less than a month and a half from now. Man. But WrestleMania, we got that to talk about. We got the roundtable event coming up that will be happening a week before the event, and we will talk about WrestleMania's night 1 and 2 and a lot more stuff to come throughout 2025. So make sure you guys stay tuned for all of that to come. Of course, as always, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram and TikTok. That is ruthless_talk. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, thank you guys so much for getting us to 300 subscribers. Make sure you spread the word. Hit that subscribe button. Follow your boys. Follow the best goddamn professional wrestling podcast on this freaking platform. That's right. I said it. Fuck yeah, man. Appreciate you guys and all of your love and support. Appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for more content to come. Brian, your final thoughts, man, before we end things.
Just looking forward to the Elimination Chamber this weekend, man. Hopefully we see Jade. And hopefully shit starts to make sense here, man.
I hope it makes sense. Your lips to God's ears, bro. We hope that we get some type of common sense and logic from this company. But at this point, Brian, that's like pulling teeth than anything at this point.
Yeah.
That is going to do it from today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Bryan Thomas.
Until next time, there will be a next time. Your boys are signing off, saying salute.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody. Top guys, we are out.
The skin is dry and pale, the pain will never fail.